everybody. Welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And today we're talking about Minute 4 of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. It's Minute 4 of Episode 8 starts with General Hux being notified that there's a resistance ship approaching. Mm-hmm. And it ends with Hux announcing to Poe that he and his friends are doomed.
Oh, boy. It's rude.
And so this is kind of where the Hux, this is where it kind of comes out that he's, because it hasn't gone fully around yet in my head. Watching this, I'm like, he's so like over the top, and then it plays on that, and his bluster becomes why this bit, he's intentionally over the top, and even Poe is over the Poe and Hux are both kind of like ramped up, kind of amplified versions of their core characters. I feel like in this. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting way to start out. And especially it takes a turn from what the tone that we might be used to for, like, we might not be expecting this necessarily, some of us, in a Star War. Mm-hmm. But, Hux gets he's been told that there's a ship approaching.
X-Wing class.
And he gets, interestingly, the officer who tells him that, he gets a call. There's a communications officer.
What's her deal?
Her deal is, it's worse than unidentified First Order officer. Her name is Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor.
Wow.
Which, I think could be a good band name if somebody's looking for one. Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor.
It's like a Sergeant Pepper kind of thing.
Yeah. But there's very little info on her other than her sleeve designation. There's this whole thing with the First Order outfits. They have names on the cuffs that designate that are kind of tributes to officers past, and they that designates what their rank is, and so her cuff says Row, which designates that she is a sergeant. So Sergeant Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor.
She didn't work her way through the military just to be known as
call
her Sergeant Aldous Hux's assistant.
And Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor. Sorry, Sergeant Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor. Or Sergeant Admiral Hux's First Order Monitor. All right, because I'm sure Hux was General Armitage Hux. He was General, right? Did I just say
General
that?
General Hux, yeah.
Not Admiral Hux. So
I think we've been mistakenly referring to him as Admiral.
Sergeant General Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor. There's your band name. Is played by a woman named Kate Dickie. Kate Dickie is has been in a bunch of things. Most notably, and this is for these new for the new Disney era movies, I think that the one of our common go-tos. This is the Superman of the new era. Is she was on Game of Thrones as Lysa Arryn? Was
she the crazy one?
I do not know. I bailed on Game of Thrones about halfway through, but she was apparently involved with Baelish for a little bit with Littlefinger. And
I feel like it could be the character. There was one part where it was early on where they went to the Queen's sister's house, and she lived up in this giant. Do you remember that? She lived up in a giant cliff, and she had a son that she was breastfeeding at age 8 or something, or 10 or
Right.
something. So for some reason I thought that was maybe the last name, but
Could be.
anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And she was also the medic named Ford, so we can expand the fever dream maybe to that. That Han Solo is aware that he's played by a character named Harrison Ford in a movie called Prometheus. So that's looping in the Alien saga.
It's a looper.
But yeah, I think so. We'll add that to. Do we want to? I'm kind of attached now to the idea of her name just being Sergeant General Armitage Hux's First Order Monitor. I don't want to give her a name. Normally we have these, like, well, person without a name. It's an opportunity to name them. But I love the idea of her being this complicated string of words.
So the question is, was that her name and this was her destiny? Or is her name something else and Hux just couldn't be bothered to learn another name, so everyone just calls her that because it doesn't matter what her job was? If she got promoted, would she be... If she started working for someone else, would she always still be, General Hux's monitors? Or would her name change to whatever her new job was? She defines herself by her job.
Like old school Chandlers and Coopers and stuff like that.
Her whole family has a tradition of serving General Hux as their monitor.
Yeah, General Armitage Hux's First Order monitors.
My mother was your father's monitor. My grandfather was your grandmother's monitor. It goes all the way back to
the Monitor family.
Times. Yeah. So we see Poe and his X-wing, his new style X-wing.
Yes. Now this is different than the one, right? This is they did change this. It's not just me not paying attention, right?
What do you mean?
His
What do you mean
X-wing
they changed it?
from The Force Awakens, the one that he used in The Force Awakens, that was not the same, or was this the same?
I feel like it's the same, but
okay. I wasn't sure. It does appear in The Force Awakens. It is me not paying attention. There we go.
Okay.
I don't know why this one. I noticed its difference this time around, but I didn't really or maybe I complained about it in when we were talking about it in The Force Awakens. But Black One seems like it's like over the top, like, hey, cool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But whatever. I'll allow it. It is a cool looking X-wing, and it fits in with the kind of the iterations of things. So it looks kind of like an X-wing that we know, but it's what the newer one would look like. You know what I mean?
Right. And I like that the first thing we see him doing is unlocking his S foils into retreat position. He's closing his things. And I don't know why he does that. Is it because he thinks, oh, they won't think I'm attacking him because I don't have my S foils locked?
It could be. Maybe it's like, if you're going to be, like, you lock them if you're going to be talking, if you're going to make a call, like, you're just like, oh, I'm not attacking. I have a call.
Oh, so that's like protocol is before he starts making his call and he has to turn down his, got it.
Well, although I like that, maybe it's like it's a bug in the system. It's like, well, you can't make a call while your attack things are open. It's like there's a couple of different features on my car that, like, you can't do it while the car is in motion, and it's probably like,
I like that.
Similar kind
it's
of a
also
thing.
wildly impractical that every time you want to you talk to someone, you have to stop your attack. But yeah,
right.
That would seem to be a design flaw of the new series. Is that to make it black? Sorry, we had to make it so every time you talk, you have to close your.
Otherwise, it would be too badass. We had to close it down.
Yes.
And we get happy beeps.
Happy beeps.
Happy beeps.
That movie about penguins, right?
No, it was about Andy Kaufman being a robot.
Oh, that's right. I get frequently confuse those two.
Yeah, I had forgotten that he says that. I know that it's a thing, but
I never noticed he says it until watching it this minute. I think it just
watching
got
it right now.
till watching it for this podcast. Yeah.
Oh. I knew.
Is that a thing? Do people say happy beeps?
Well, I knew about it because it's a former guest of the show, Jennifer Landa, from Force Center. That was her episode, her podcast. She would call it Happy Beeps. And I believe our friend Tony Thaxton did the theme song for Happy Beeps, or I could be mistaken.
I think we should have him under contract to only do stuff for us exclusively.
Oh, well, I punished him.
Weakens the brand.
I punished him for that? No. I docked him. I docked him one theme. No. He's free to. He's a wonderful, accomplished musician who can do anything he wants. But Happy Beeps. He says it twice in here because that's the first thing we kind of hear him say is like Happy Beeps, buddy, because BB-8 first has the first dialogue, such as it is.
Well, this scene also features, I guess, not controversy, that might be overstating it, but this scene features a bit that I think was somewhat divisive.
How so?
Because this is where we have Poe saying, I'm on hold to talk to General Hugs. And he starts the whole gag about, like, he can't hear him,
the prank call bit.
And I wasn't crazy about it. I thought anyway, we'll get to more about the parts I really objected to tomorrow. But the fact that he says, like, I'm on hold for General Hux, and I'm sure they have some version of hold, but just that to me just seemed too 21st century.
Too earthy.
Yeah, too earthy.
Nobody's going to know what hold is, right? Do people even know what hold is now? Nobody gets put on hold, do they? I guess they do if they're calling, like, some customer service line or something like that.
Their call is very important to you. I mean, your call is very important to them.
Should he have said that?
Yeah. I almost feel like it would have been better the other way. I want to hear what the Imperial hold music is.
Right. Well, I'm sure it's the Imperial March, but it's like
just
like a
different
jazzy version of that, right?
Yeah. I want to hear also what how when you're on those holds and they tell you, like, you can use our website also to go online and fill out the form. So if he had to hear all that stuff,
General Hugs. I do like that. For some reason, I know I can understand being bothered by it, and it threw me a little bit at first because I was like, oh, this is different. But
that's not his name.
Part of what, although it did remind me of our friend Joe Hughes, who we sometimes call Joey Hugs. So, no, we're calling General Hugs. Expanding what Star Wars is. What does Star Wars mean to me? And now you get a little music swell as I do a little tone poem. But we can't be stuck in the same vision of what Star Wars is forever. We've seen that be a problem with comics. Lieutenant Comics. Cadel Co Comics. Somebody should make an imprint. But I don't know. And so, this kind of me of all people, I feel like I'm very curmudgeonly about this stuff often, but kind of allowing new stuff to be Star Wars, I think is important.
Yeah.
And humor is a path I'm willing to go down because the jokes and I know it's not just the fact that it's humor, but it's done in a, it struck me as almost kind of like an extended version of Han Solo, like, we're all fine here. How are you? That.
Right.
And I dig it. And part of it is I find Poe charming. And so
I guess one of the reasons why it's the difference, and again, I don't want to it's not like I'm like saying, oh, this ruins the movie or anything.
No.
But I remember it coming up as an issue.
Yeah.
I think the difference between the Han Solo one and this one is that Han Solo wasn't making a joke. Han Solo was legitimately trying to get out of this situation, whereas Poe is kind of like, he's almost like he has all these things all prepared, and he's like, it seems more like the character is purposely making a joke. But again, not a big deal. There's certainly other Han Solo makes other jokes, so it's not like that's the only time that he does something. So
But I think it fits in with his character, and I dig it here.
You know who's not a joke?
It makes me like Hux more.
Yeah.
In Hux's reaction is him being so over the top and flustered by this. I'm like, oh, I get it. Now I understand Hux.
Yeah, the only way it would have been better is if Hux also tried to make a joke and it just clunked badly, which inevitably it would have.
Right.
So, yeah. Donald Gleason.
Mm-hmm.
As many people reminded us, you don't pronounce the M in Donald Gleason. That's a promise. I think it's just like Donald. But I looked up what other things he had done, and I think he has probably one of the best careers of the new generation. Well, I think it's a lot of good careers, but I was interested. I went to his IMDb page, and it has like the top 4 projects the person is known for. Star Wars did not make the cut for Donald Gleason. Do you want to guess what his top 4 things were?
Now, wasn't he in a Harry Potter?
He also did not make the top 4.
Yeah.
2 of these I could see because I'm like, oh yeah, those are definitely, I know he was in those, but the other 2 surprised me because I don't think of those.
Black Mirror?
Black Mirror, that was also one it should be.
But that's not something that wasn't in the top?
No. They're all movies.
Okay. I don't know. I don't watch movies outside of Star Wars movies. 1 minute at a time.
Ex Machina.
I haven't seen it.
You should see it. It's good. It's good hard sci-fi, and also it has Poe and Hux.
Yeah.
A movie called Frank, based on the John Ronson book or story about time travel movie with Rachel McAdams.
I haven't seen it.
And Anna Karenina. The 2012 version of Anna Karenina somehow beat out Harry Potter and Star Wars as his most famous projects.
Or maybe that's the one. Maybe that algorithm is based on people being like, "Who's that?" and looking him up, and so maybe that's more. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, weirdly, his bio says he is best known for his portrayal of Bill Weasley in the Harry Potter films, About Time, Ex Machina, and The Revenant. That also doesn't mention Star Wars.
Interesting.
So, weird. Maybe he's trying to
Revenant,
downplay it.
Wasn't that the one with a bear?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Did he play the bear?
No, you're thinking of Space Bear. He was in that one.
Right.
He played he was like what are they called? The guys like a military guy at like a fort or something like that.
Right.
Commander of a fort. That's what he is.
Okay.
So the movie he did after this was a movie called A Futile and Stupid Gesture.
Okay.
It was about the origins of National Lampoon. I remember and a lot of other people were shocked that I never would have thought that was Hux in there.
That's exactly what I was like, I saw him in something and I had no idea it was him. What was that? And I was just trying to look it up in the background, but that was it. That was because it was I had watched the documentary about the early days of National Lampoon, and then the kind of dramatization of that was also interesting. And I had no clue that was him until after the fact. I looked it up and I was like, oh wow,
yeah. And he was very good in that Black Mirror episode too.
But I feel like maybe there's something else. What else is there
that he was in?
He was part of the voice cast for Peter Rabbit. That wasn't it. Right. I didn't see that either.
And part 2, he's franchise. He's a king of the franchises.
Oh right, 6 Shooter.
Don't know that one.
There's a short film. That was one of the few things that I bought. One of the first video things that I bought on iTunes, I believe, because it was it won the Academy Award for Best Live Action Short in 2006. And starring Brendan Gleeson, which I remember that, and I didn't remember that his son was also in it. But I feel like I did see him in something else. Let's see, Harry Potter.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Star Wars, The Last Jedi. That was it. I saw it and I was like, "Who's that guy?"
That guy's going places. It's a little over the top. If you learn to rein it in, he'll be okay.
He's the star or a player in at least 3 different theme park attractions, according to this, because he's Bill Weasley in the Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts at Universal Studios Florida, and he's in both Star Tours and Rise of the Resistance at Disney. So, good to know.
Good on him.
What would and we also see General Princess Leia Organa Solo.
We don't know if she took Han's name, do we? They never.
I don't believe she did. She doesn't seem like the type, first of all, and just I think that her professional career was too was already established. He should have taken her name. He should have been Han Organa.
Well, I do know some people have criticized the fact that Ben Solo is, the son of this royalty from Alderaan, and yet they give him the name of some random Imperial guy just gave out.
Some made up name.
I imagine Han being very adamant that he wanted the child to be called Solo, even though we name it nothing to him.
Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe he didn't want it, and she wanted to kind of bond him to it. She was thinking, well, let's to create more of a familial unit with him and them.
Yeah,
he'll be called Solo. Didn't help, but
probably did the opposite of helping. But
yeah. We get Leia, who says, first off, she says, "I'm with the droid on this one," which I think would make a good shirt, maybe. It's like I'm with stupid, but I'm with the droid on this one.
An arrow pointing.
Yeah.
A C-3PO arm pointing.
But it's our reintroduction, and again, this is we talked about it kind of as not a tease, but we got a little pang of it with seeing Cato Kokonix, and now that we know that Carrie Fisher is gone, and we see her for the first time in this. This is her first on-screen appearance her first posthumous on-screen appearance, and so it's emotional to see her here. In the novelization, here the book is different than the movie. One thing that, and perhaps it would be too morbid, too hitting too close to home, but the first chapter before the evacuation, we actually see on Dakar, we see Han Solo's funeral. Wow. Overseen by Princess Leia. Her she has kind of the final word, obviously, and it's a kind of this whole moment of her. It's a kind of a little bit of a character study of her, kind of figuring out what being in. Knowing what Han Solo would have wanted and not wanted, and then also wanting to knowing that the Resistance needs a pep talk, and using kind of Han Solo's funeral as essentially a pep talk.
Interesting.
Saying, like Han Solo was a lot of things, but he was a rebel first and foremost, and he was going to take down this empire, so let's make sure he didn't die in vain, that kind of a thing.
And they paid Harrison Ford $20 million to lay in the coffin and not have to say any lines.
And then ironically they cut it out. So.
He got Zuvio'd.
Or they paid him there to lie there for a second while they made a mold of his face, and then they put Alan Harris actually was the body.
They should have just used the carbon. They should have just used the
there
carbonite. So I don't have anything else specific to this minute. I do have one bit of trivia I could give you if you want me to.
Will it keep? You want to keep it till tomorrow, or is it?
Sure, I can keep it.
Keeps.
Keeps.
No,
oh, I wish.
All right. Well,
I wish.
Let's keep it until tomorrow.
Keeps it.
Ramped up stereotypes. We'll see. This is we're gonna wrap up our first week of this tomorrow. I can't believe we're already this far in.
Seems like just 3 days ago we started.
I know. Well, hopefully you guys are sticking with us through this. We are, as we've said repeatedly, we're now on video. So if you want to go Catch us there. We're StarWarsMinute.com/YouTube.
All sorts of visual gags that only the video people will.
Yeah,
We'll
we got to start writing little, notes to hold up that we don't reference, we don't talk about, but they're just on camera to pique the curiosity. Although we still want the podcast numbers, so
Yeah,
keep
that's
listening, keep on keeping on, whatever you're doing. But if you want to look at us while we do this, you can do that at StarWarsMinute.com/YouTube.
Star Wars. Oh, sorry.
Or you know what? Cue up the YouTube video and then mute it and play the podcast at the same time. That way we're double dipping the numbers. So.
Well, as long as people download the podcast, they don't actually have to listen to it.
Oh, yeah, that's
do
true.
they?
Download it and then go watch the YouTube.
Right.
And also, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, or you can listen to us on Spotify. All these things, you can find us all these places. And you can find us back here tomorrow for a brand new episode of Star Wars Minute.